Saturday morning. Next week, I'm heading to Grima, which is located in Germany, and it will be a location for this year's KWC. So yeah, I'm doing my first training there and hope it will go fine. We will see.
You are a resident KWC driver, and what are the plans for this year? What are your goals, let's say?
I'm not in the top form of my life, so basically to enjoy the championship and learn as much as I can. That's the thing. Not taking anything for granted, but we will see. I just want to have fun.
Well, that's the spirit, and you always do top performances sometimes like that. So sometimes having a more relaxed mindset and taking things as they come to you. It
also helps. As you say, it also helps.
Absolutely. Welcome, Nathaniel. Welcome back, Track Help. Can you hear us? Hope you can hear us, Nathaniel.
Yeah.
How have you been, Nathaniel?
Yeah, I've been good. I've gone to Acton lately, but I went today, so.
Superb. I see you've put some Sony footage from Sandown, which I'm looking forward to going through. Just to run you guys through, this is the 55th episode of Track Help. It's great to see how the community has been growing, and that's what we're going to start off today with. Let's just recap who's been joining over the past week, or at least who's put their introduction on our pin post. So we had Parikshitraj from India, and he drives in Bangalore. There's a couple of tracks that he goes to. He wants to get serious in racing, and he figured that karting may be a good way to start. Well, absolutely. Karting is a cost-effective way to start. Karting is where a lot of F1 drivers have started, and you do learn a lot of the fundamental skills. We had Thomas from UK join. He also started karting this year in March, so he's just getting that adrenaline buzz from karting. He's getting into it now, and he goes to Ancaster. For those of you who know PFI, the famous FIA certified karting track in the UK, Ancaster is basically up the road, actually. And he hopes to do professional karting someday. We then had Griffin from Florida joining. He's raced at Orlando Kart Center. That's a very popular track. I've heard that many times. And he's actually done a bit of pro karting experience as well. So he's looking to make that switch from intermediate to more advanced. And then finally, the community of Swedish drivers is actually increasing. We had Katrina joining. And I'm not even going to attempt to say these track names because I know I'll absolutely mess up the pronunciations, but there's a number of tracks she goes to. And of course, Sweden is well known for some top karting drivers. We're going to get right into it, guys, with William. Now, William, I understand you've got a race coming up. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have a race in about 5 hours.
You know what? You've joined at the perfect time. So this is literally track help before the actual track session, before the race. And if I recall, last time we reviewed the lap on the left, was it the 1988? Yes. So you did manage to knock it down about a tenth, let's say. And there's still a bit more time that you're hoping to find.
Yeah, for the right one, I noticed too, is like even though I knocked it down just a little bit, around the second hairpin, I know I messed up that part where I went in a little too early. So I know there's more time I can get out of that, but just wondering, like, because I went into one of the teen races, just watched, and they were racing around like a 19.2, 19.3, 19.4, 19.5. Like those were like the top people were running those type of lap times, like those are qualifying times. So I'm hoping to get around that 19.5 because usually the adults are around the same.
Absolutely. A couple of factors, as you mentioned, when there's more drivers out on track, more grip and rubbers laid down. So lap times generally get faster. And then also, I mean, in this race, is it going to be for best lap time or is it actually for position?
So it's for position. So qualifying, I was watching their qualifying, and that's what their qualifying times were. and so
Okay.
trying to hit,
So basically, qualifying is key because it's a tight track.
Especially-
You want to be
yeah.
high up the order. I think that's a good thing to focus on for today. How can we lower your current timings down? An interesting thing I do want to observe before we go on to the second hairpin or the hairpin sequence, which I did see you had the lap together until I think you carried maybe a bit too much entry speed. It's just some improvements from last time. Let's put it in slow motion. Let's bring our pen out so we can annotate exactly where to look. And we're going to put this in slow motion. Turn 1, I've noticed that you're a lot more confident. If you watch the right-hand side, slightly earlier turning on kart 10 in this case. What that allowed you to do is sharp turning. Was it a lift, by the way, for turn 1?
Yeah,
Lift and
it was a small lift and then a gentle acceleration.
Excellent. So you can see how it's that lock steering method. So you put your desired amount of input in early in the corner, and then as you lay the power back down, bringing the steering wheel back to neutral position. Bit of oversteer, no problem. The main thing is we're really hitting our target apex point and allowing ourselves to have the best possible exit to the next corner. That brings us on to the tricky part really at this track. Although it's 19 seconds, we're able to break it down and identify this is probably the part where you can win some time, potentially lose some time as well.
Yeah,
what do you think you did at the first hairpin here? What do you think you could have improved?
So from the preview, I definitely with the meters, especially you can like that was the main thing that you were talking about like the first time was that I was like I could have been like a little wider and like a little
entry.
Yeah, and so I think I did though, which I should have done break later.
Yep.
Because I feel like breaking later would definitely allow me because I kind of did the same thing as I did last time. I hit like that early to middle apex and not really hitting that late apex, which is slowing me down.
Yeah. What I see over here is just you've turned in a bit earlier than you realized. So if you notice the turning is done over here. This is where our apex is. So what's going to happen, we're going to reach the corner, the early portion very quickly. What happens is as you lay the power down, you get your slight bit of oversteer, and then you're trying to correct mid-corner. This is what we call a correction, because if you hold too much steering angle, you're going to end up hitting that barrier there. So what that does, it loses you like a couple of tenths. You won't believe. So as you just mentioned, why don't we try to use a bit more of the track on entry, so it widens up our approach, but also train yourself to think, if I want to turn in now, no, I'm going to delay it for half a second. I'm going to make sure that it's going to be done at a later time, the turn in, the braking even. And again, it's not too late. We don't want to end up too far deep, but not as early as we're doing right now. So hopefully, slightly wider entry. Just imagine to yourself, don't turn in now. Give it half a second, give it a second, and then sharp turning. We can end up going for that late apex. Then our run for the next section is set up well, so we can end up quickly to the mid to right hand side of the track because it's a sharp left hand turn coming up. How was it for on this lap? I guess it was compromised, but you tried to get back online. I can notice.
Yeah. Throughout the rest of the track, it's just trying to get like back online, trying to get on the like trying to keep in that short I guess short to the apex, and right there you can see there's a lot of sliding, but then trying to pick up. I feel like the rest of the track, it helped me, especially when you were saying to go a little wider at the end.
We're gonna come to that
now. So like from here, like we were close, but then adding like a little like wider, like having more of like the late apex on that one.
Yep.
You can kind of see I'm of course the outside more so hugging the middle, and it helped me get that better put more speed to the line.
Yeah, and the flow is better through here. You probably felt that it links up nicely. So as you flick it from the left, now the corner's opened up to the right. Again, you've kept within the middle of the grid lines over here, which is really, really nice. And that's allowed you to then open up this corner easier, so we're not hugging the inside barrier too early, and just sort of flowing around it. And then that sets you up for the next lap, which is very important. So really, don't overthink it. I think you're doing the first sector really well. I really like this. Keep it up. So lift and turn nice and early, and then clipping a nice apex. All you got to do now for the second corner, or third corner technically, coming up the hairpin, use even the dark line, or I don't know, in this case, the yellow line as a reference.
Race just happened, so the paint just
it came off. Well, we can use it as a reference. Don't be on the right side. Make sure my kart is on the left side. So at least I've got that wide entry. Then we got to train ourselves. How can we turn in a bit later? I advise you, don't look at the apex too early. That's one thing. If you continue looking ahead, right, you'll naturally drive towards that in a straight line. And then at the last moment, you can look across to your apex point when it's time to cut back. Early brake, late apex, stay to the right-hand side. And as we discussed last week, once you can get the first apex right, everything else links up nicely from the outside edge, flick it back to the left. So we don't have a compromised line again over here, tight line. And then we're able to flow through these corners. Keep sector 3 the same. And I think you should be on your way to a mid 19, so 19.5 hopefully. Just a couple of tips though before we round off for the race specifically. Get track position. That's very, very, very key. Yeah. But also, once you are in front, then the defending job is what's going to be very important, because you can keep people who are faster behind you as long as you place your kart in the correct spots. So for example, in turn one looks like a classic dive bomb opportunity. So if you take your qualifying line and you're going wide and somebody's right behind you on your inside, they're just going to launch it down the inside. So what you could do in turn one is take a narrower line. And because you're the lead driver, you should always dictate the pace. So the best option is always to lift early or brake early for these corners. Braking early, lifting early is necessary when you take a corner at a tight angle, because you need to make sure you don't overshoot the corner. Otherwise, you enter the corner too tight, you brake late, and then you'll basically end up going all the way to the outside part of the track, and they'll just switch back and pass you. So whenever you're defending or taking a tighter line, early brake, early lift, and then prioritize early acceleration. So we need to be exiting out these corners quickly. I know it's going to be tempting to defend and fight them on corner entry. They might be coming alongside you. They might be over here side by side with you. And you want to fight them all the way, but just prioritize your exit. And they will most likely be looking for a switchback. So as long as you can get on the accelerator early, then you will be able to pass them. One final thing, though. I know we spoke about defending. Now, when it comes to overtaking, especially on the first couple of laps, be brave. Yep, get your elbows out.
Yeah.
You know, don't be too soft with the other drivers. I know I was speaking to a driver who does K1 in Canada, and he said, look, the marshals there aren't too bothered. Like people get their elbows out and take places.
Yeah.
So you got to play with the rules, kind of thing. I know you want to be fair, but if everyone's going to push you off the track and you're last, then, you know, you kind of got to give it back to them sometimes, but in a controlled manner, of course. Any final things? Yes.
Yeah. So for that one turn that I messed up, that like second, yeah, like right there. So for braking methods, I suppose also it's just like a thing. What's the difference, or when would you use where you would just like brake and then turn versus braking and turn simultaneously? Like, what's the difference, like use of that, and like try and get that slip angle versus like braking hard, then like lifting, turning, and then slowly accelerating?
Yeah, great question. A couple of factors. Number one is speed. So for example, how much speed am I carrying into this corner? If it's a lot of speed, we have to brake, slow the kart down, and then we get our turn in done. If it's a shorter corner, let's say, which is coming up after this, And just for example's sake, you can see the distance between the exit of this turn and the entry of that turn is very, very short. This is a corner on the left that we'd go for brake and turn, right? For example, I know it's actually lift and turn as we've been advising you to do. That's one factor. The other factor is the amount of grip. If we try to brake too hard on a grippy surface, you'll experience bouncing and juddering. So that actually offsets the kart. And although you might get the rear end to step out, because there's too much grip, as the rear end steps out, then you're bouncing and then you're all over the place. You're fighting the kart, counter-steering too much. So that's why you'd ideally go for a similar technique you used in turn 1, which is that lock steering, fixed amount of steering angle. And at this time, you're turning and lifting, right?
Yeah.
Once again, I'd do exactly that, even if it's for a brake. So for example, this corner that's coming up over here, I'd apply most probably brake and turn, play around with it.
Yeah.
Does braking and then turning feel comfortable, or brake and turn at the same time? Brake and turn at the same time is an aggressive method, and it will really get you instant sort of rotation. So play around with that, see how that works.
Okay.
So it's really a driving style preference.
Perfect. Thank you.
All the best, William. Please let us know how you get on in the race in terms of your lap time and your finishing position. We hope to see you in a future track help session.
Thank you so much.
No worries at all. Just a couple of comments from YouTube. Sasha saying, I couldn't join. No worries at all, Sasha. Darren is saying, I had issues joining. I believe somebody tried to join and I was busy doing the review. So if you want to try and join again, Darren, then I will admit you in. Let's go over to Marcel's footage, as he's sent a link to it over here. And it's always great to watch the footage from the Eefde track. Just before we get into the footage, Marcel, if you could tell people who used to drive here, because there's many new members of the academy who aren't familiar with that story.
You broke a bit on me, so I didn't hear you at all.
Sorry, I was saying for all the new members who've joined us, before we get into the analysis of your session, just let them know what the historic background is of this track and which F1 driver used to practice here.
Actually, Nico Hulkenberg did start his karting career here. He had no opportunity in Germany, and this is close to the German border. It's close enough, and and that's why he speaks Dutch really good, because he was here many years. And I didn't know that just before the Qatar F1, of course. That was, I just learned
you were
that.
Researching then.
Yeah. So that was really cool.
No, that's awesome. I've just admitted Brandon. What's up, Brandon? Welcome back to Track Help.
How you doing, man?
Very well, thank you. Brandon, do you have any footage or anything you wanted to cover in today's session?
I do have footage and stuff, but it was really embarrassing. It was my first race, and I didn't realize the level that you guys are at. But it was a lot of fun, a lot of good people, and I'm definitely doing it again. I just need to get my pace up. Literally, I was a second behind the whole field.
There's absolutely no shame in sharing your first race, and I have a story of my first race to share with you, which we're going to come to. Brandon, we have got a couple of drivers still to get through, so if we can get through that within this hour, and then we still have some time, we're definitely going to review yours. Otherwise, we'll save it for next week. All right?
Not a problem. For next week, I need to edit and stuff as well.
No worries. Please stick around though, because I'd like to share my story as well about my first race.
No, of course.
Let's just go back to Eefde Karting with Marcel, the famous track with obviously Nico Hulkenberg started karting, and he's made a fantastic career out of F1. One of the longest serving drivers. Marcel, I think you're one of the longest serving drivers at the Eefde track, though, since you're so regular.
Oh yeah, they already asked me which car do you want, which row do you want to start, do you want to start first or last? So it's really cool.
You've become a VIP there now, yeah?
Almost, yeah.
Super.
I'm glad it's not as expensive as in England, because that's horrible.
Prices are just going up and up now, I think.
Yeah, but it's really the guy's place in West London. How's it called? Acton.
Acton, that's it.
Oh, that's really horrible expensive for me.
Yeah,
I can do 2 weekends for the same price as 2 heats at Acton.
Wow. I remember that's just a figure-of-8 indoor track compared to what beautiful track we got over here. Outdoor petrol's only got.
Yeah.
It looks like they've added some new, I guess, barriers. Is it the blue and white ones on the outside?
No, they freshen it all up. So.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah, they didn't resurface, but they freshened everything. They put dirt in the holes in the grass and things like that. So
super.
They really in the winter closure they did that. So I'm still watching my mistakes. Okay, sorry.
No, absolutely. I was just going to come to that now. Which specific timestamp do you think we should go to? And review of the head, I think it was.
No, the very beginning of the. This is the second part of the whole heat, so this is short.
Gotcha.
And we're turning into the second hairpin quite soon in the beginning.
All right. So as soon as the footage starts, basically.
That's the second hairpin coming up already. So
this is the clip, yep, and the timestamp. Awesome. Talk to me through about the second hairpin, because I still remember this corner.
Yeah, the approach is quite okay in this one, but I'm not wide enough. I need one tire on the rubble on the right side, and I'm a bit late to hit the apex. We tried out the suggestions you made, later braking or later lifting. I don't even brake or lift because I'm too slow out of the first hairpin. I don't need to brake. So we went with, I think actually it was Jacob's suggestion to do a early turn in, because this double apex thing is really hard to manage. And if you're a little bit more to the left or a little bit more to the right, you definitely gonna lose your revs absolutely every time.
Yeah,
I need to
that sweet spot.
Yeah, there is really a sweet spot, but it's dying really hard if you don't hit sweet spot. It costs me 4/10 if I do it wrong.
Wow. I want to bring you in, Jacob, and it's nice, Marcel.
Yep.
Marcel, remember.
Nice that you remember. I'm surprised, really.
No,
Marcel's a loyal member of the community.
That's great.
He'll remember your advice.
Okay.
What do you notice about this clip, Jacob?
I wasn't really watching the full video, but from what I know, that's the main suffer. Yes, that's the main suffer right here.
Basically, the second hairpin again. Marcel mentioned he could have been wide on entry first of all to set up the corner.
This thing on the right side unsettle your cart, or is it okay, you can go on it?
No, it's really okay.
It's okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So can we go through this? Can we go past one corner? We can start not from here, but from the previous corner if we have the video from there.
Yeah. Basically.
So I can. So I could I watch those two corners, and then I can say something. Because I need to see what's happening right here.
Bit too high on the curb. The curbs are a bit too high to really go over them.
Okay, so basically here, okay, that's the thing, and here this is what happened. Okay, so tell me, what's the biggest issue right here? The reps are the biggest issue.
The rest, yeah, as you know, and I'm not complaining, but my weight is quite high, and everybody needs rest in rentals, but I really need the rest in rental because I'm losing loads of times if my rests are down.
Okay, so what was the best outcome of this corner? Like, what do you need to apply to be go the fastest way? Like, was it the tight line or was it something different?
No, the tight line is really horrible because it's a sort of double apex-ish.
Okay.
Because it seems a left corner only, but it's really a nasty hairpin, and it's
yeah, because it's the apex. I think is not where you exactly look.
No,
at the first,
exactly.
At the first time, then when you go into the corner, it's not here. It's
it's back there, but that's too tight to manage because it will die on me.
Okay,
I need to have it going outside because otherwise I lose every rev.
Okay, so you're trying to take it flat out, like
absolutely. Yeah, I'm really slow already. There. I'm already slow there, so that's
okay
for me not a problem.
Well, so where is the exactly point of the apex here that you are trying to hit? Well, what we are looking for? The main apex.
In the first apex, I will try the second red one. That's my aim. I'm a bit off now, obviously.
This one, right, Marcel?
Yeah, that one. Yeah, absolutely. And then I can make a big wide turn to the right side of the track, and there, ideally, I will hit the rumble there again. Then the line is good for the refs. Maybe not for
this rumble
other
over here.
things.
Okay.
Yeah, this rumble. So this outcome is great, but the entrance of the corner wasn't that great. But sometimes it works, and then my time really drops 4 tenths. And that's all because, yeah, I'm really heavy. I'm 130 plus kilograms. So if I lose reps, I really lose a lot of time.
Just to cut in, do you think then it's necessary to use this outside rumble on entry?
It's not necessary, I think.
Okay, not necessary. Okay.
Because I already take a sort of medium rain line to keep the refs up. And my son is doing this as well, but he is mastering it a little bit better.
You know, one thing I'd say on this occasion, Marcel, is actually the tightness of the line. So, for example, over here, I notice you're turning in early, right? So if you look at the steering rotation, turning in early so we can hit the apex early. You mentioned the second red. That's fine. And what's going to happen from this point is we'll naturally go wide to open the steering wheel back up and keep that momentum high. If we go too tight now, then we're going to bog down and it'll take time to build revs again. So you notice how much you're going wide. I mean, this is the track on the left, but to keep the momentum up, you're heading out wide. One thing you could possibly try, I'd say next time, is a slightly later turn in, ever so slightly. So instead of turning in as we're doing over here, why don't we keep it maybe half a kart length later? Let's say the last third of this rumble strip.
Yeah, I'm doing the first third now, indeed, on purpose.
This is a nice. So this is basically the first third. You're turning in. That's half, and then let's say the last third. What that'll allow you to do: take a bit more entry speed, slightly later apex. So rather than hitting the second red, maybe we can go for the second white. And from the second white, again, don't keep it too tight, but keep it tighter than what you're doing over here. So rather than going all the way back out wide, just reduce a few more meters. See how we're nearly touching the outside white line over here? Keep it halfway in the middle and see if that shorter path to the rumbles will then gain you a couple of tenths.
Yeah, I already learned not to yank my steering wheel in this corner because it slowed me down way too much already. So
you're smooth.
I'm more smooth now, and I try to make it neutral as possible. Of course, I need a little bit of input, but
I like that, and I see that improvement.
I'm doing this on purpose.
Yeah. I think what happened over here, I think you ran a bit too far out wide, right? So we're using more of the track. Try a tighter line, less meters, see if that gains you a tenth or two to make up time.
My theory in that is I already need to be on the right side for the next corner. So it doesn't really matter in meters, but it matters in revs.
True. But what we're trying to do over here is have an aggressive entry. So gain a bit more time in terms of more entry speed. What's happening here, the moment we turn in, we're losing a bit of entry speed. So delay that turn in to the last third of the rumble. And then you can even shift your body weight over here on this side and try to steer slightly less as well. Yeah. So I know we're putting in 25 degrees, 30 degrees of steering angle. Try and put 15 degrees of steering angle. Use more of your body weight to turn the car. See how that works.
I'm a great fan of leaning out.
Absolutely. So you'll definitely enjoy it then. Try it out next week, Marcel. Let me know how it goes. Whether it works, whether it may be slower, but it'll be nice to hear your feedback on that.
Yeah, I will have the GoPro next week. This week was my
Super.
So I can film it again.
Any other questions, Marcel, before we move on to the next driver?
No, absolutely not. I'm very grateful again.
It's always a pleasure, Marcel, and looking forward to hearing your feedback next week about the slightly tighter line, let's say, the less meters line.
Yes. Oh, you're spot on time, by the way. It's 20:35 now.
Oh, there we go. So you'll be following on YouTube Live then.
Yes, sir.
It's always a pleasure, Marcel.
Yeah,
we're just gonna take a quick break to answer some questions. A few people are asking how to join the academy. Just type in KTips Academy on Google and send a request to join. It's completely free to join. And then you'll get access to this global karting community. So every Sunday at 6 p.m. GMT, we got track help. So you can put a submission like William did and put a description about what you want us to cover. You can get the opinion of myself and other experienced drivers. So today we've gone through William, we've gone through Marcel. We're going to round off with Jacob and Nathaniel. And hopefully in between, I'll get a chance to give you guys some feedback about my first race, since Brandon is over here and brought up the topic. Let's go straight into Jacob's footage now. Jacob, it's always great to review your track, which is in Czech Republic. Please let me know, is it the first link or the second link you want to go? Which one's the best?
Both. So there were two races that day. So these are two races.
Cool. I'm just reading your description over here, and I'll share my screen at the same time. Basically, you put, just want to quickly look at it. Only interesting parts are probably both the race starts, which we'll look at. I want to discuss one moment, accidentally let a driver through on the last lap because I thought he was lapping me. Okay. And he actually wasn't. I also want to discuss when I went to the track one more time, but I don't have it filmed. I forgot this camera setup. But you brought your personal record down by 4/10. Now that always happens whenever you don't have the GoPro or the setup. You do your best timings, and then you don't have it recorded. That's happened to me so many times where I've lost such good footage or timings just by not having the camera. So let's just go through the race starts then, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm going to bring up link 1. Hopefully you can see us over here. These are obviously SWS races. So... P6, is it? P7 rather. And just let it load in. Talk me through it, Jacob.
So yeah, I started P7, and there I think in the race there wasn't nobody overtook me. I think just probably with a pit stop timing, someone overtook me when like I was in the pits, and yeah, then I accidentally let the driver through on the last lap, so I fell down 2 places from the start. I started 7th out of 12. I finished 9th out of 12.
Where did you lose the positions? So I know you kept P7 on the lap, but how did the other two positions get lost?
I don't know.
It looks like, yeah, I'm just skimming through. It just looks like the pack of drivers in front are either slightly quicker or they're working together. Maybe their karts are slightly quicker. And what's happened is, since the first 3 corners, what happened over here? Notice kart 6. They got ahead, bit of contact, and then at this moment was basically the last time that you saw the pack. Because after that, if we skip like 3 laps down the road,
in this race,
then you
all the guys behind me were faster.
Behind you were faster. So this is defending.
No, before me, like in front of me. Behind me were slower. Like I was kind of in the middle.
This is one of those races where absolutely no, I get what you're saying. This is one of those races where whatever you can get at the race start, you sort of get, but eventually the race will pan out, and the quicker drivers will take their positions, whether they're going to overtake you or just on pure luck in the pit stops, right? Because talk us through the pit stops that happens over here.
Yeah,
basically a red light signals.
Yeah, like last time it was you had to be there for 25 seconds. Now it's only now it's only 20 seconds.
So you're basically going to your pit now.
It's on the, I don't know how good. Yeah, there's like a display.
Yep. There we go.
There you see the time you are in the pits.
That's awesome. I really like that for strategy. And basically, if you look at the configuration of the pit lane, there's like tenths and hundreds of seconds you can potentially gain at the angle that you take at and the speeds that you take at. Of course, you're not meant to be speeding in the pit lane, but all these small things add up, and that's how you can gain or even lose some positions. In this case, I would say, looking at the race start, if you really want to give the leaders a hard time, although they're faster than you just got to wait for an opportunity to open up and get your elbows out, right? And then take a position. Otherwise, they're just gonna go, and your chance is gone. Especially when you're starting in the mid pack from like P7 or so, it's very, very difficult to catch the top guys. If you look at the top 2, as you come out the first corner, they're already exiting the second corner and onto the back straight. So really, whatever places you can make up, try to do. Let's analyze the second race start. How different was this one?
It was a rolling start, actually.
Nice. So a different type of start. And this will be interesting to see how it pans out over here. Basically have a formation lap.
Yeah. Now we're still driving in the grid.
Gotcha. Out the final corner now. Let's see how this goes. Rolling start. Bumper to bumper. 3 wide. Oh, that's going to be tight. You got the inside. Nice. Just get squeezed out of there. Nice move, holding the inside. Oh, and then kart 8. Okay. This is almost like indoor karting, but outdoors, because it's so tight. Always when I watch footage from this track, it reminds me of that. Now, what happens when you have a tight track? The inside line constantly changes. So, for example, over here, number 10 has the inside line, right? But then for turn 2, number 5 has the inside line. If you notice on the rolling start, did you prefer the grid or the rolling? First of all, what's your preference?
The grid, but that was because I was starting from the inside.
Yep, you could say so. For turn 1, with the rolling start, everyone is a lot closer, and if you basically stick on somebody's bumper, right, you can make up a place to almost follow them through, similar to what you did over here. Following the inside drivers through, you notice the driver in black, Kart 8, he's way on the outside. You take the much tighter line on the bumper of Kart 5, and basically you've taken a position. Although you're side by side, you've got the inside coming up to this tight hairpin. Now the problem is, because it's such a tight track, you might have the inside line for the corner 1 minute, and it immediately becomes the outside line for the next corner, like is done over here. So in cases like this, it's very, very important that you get a decent exit. If you notice Kart 10 over here, I think he got quite lucky. Although he got bumped into turn 2, you can see over here he got bumped. He recovers well, positions the kart, shakes you off, shakes the guy on number 8, the left off, looks over his shoulder, and he realizes he's pretty much safe. What happens when you're side by side? You might feel that you're going to be ahead into a corner. The moment that corner flips, it goes the opposite way, then you've just had to concede the position back. What happened in this race overall, though? I know we're watching the start. Which position did you finish in?
I started 8th and finished 8th.
Okay, so basically held position. I mean, the main thing is you've established a finishing position. I think your target now is, how can I get into the top 5? You know, what is lacking? I mean, in your opinion, what is the difference in pace? What are they doing that you're not doing?
Yeah, I think like I'm improving my times pretty fast. I did a 4/10 improvement last time I was there. It was more optimal temperature, so that was, but like,
and remember,
I managed to I was told that like when trying to initiate the neutral steer, like I was sliding too much, I was told. So I managed to slide a bit less, but in some corners I still slide too much. And also, I need to get better at this corner because I always miss the apex.
Perfect. See, those are 2 key things you've already established from your own driving that you're consciously trying to improve on. And it's small things you identify like that and work on will help you get to the next level. What you don't want to do is just go there and just drive for the sake of it, right? Use your footage, use, you know, conversations with other drivers, get their feedback, and, you know, see what they might be doing slightly different and what they advise. Once you can start working on those improvements step by step, then you'll be like, hold on, that improvement gained me 1/10, and now that improvement gave me 2/10, and slowly, you know, you'll go from your 43.5 to your 43.1. At the end of the day, you need to then work on consistency. So how can I do this optimal line with the proper steering techniques, braking points, but consistently? Every single lap as similar as possible. And that's what these guys are doing. You see at the front, the top guys, they've established that foundation and they're basically driving on instinct, right? They're not overthinking every corner. Okay, I've got to brake here, I've got to turn here. It's become natural to them. That, of course, comes with experience. You got to do lots of practice sessions, you got to do a lot of races, and it becomes muscle memory. Because you mentioned that there's long gaps between the races that you do, right? It's not that you're going every day or every couple of days, right?
Yeah, like we plan to go twice a month for practice sessions, and there is one race a month.
Perfect. So that's your
I'm registered for every race so far this year.
Perfect. So you've established your routine. Now you need to see how I can maximize those practice sessions and those races. Practice sessions focus on things like affecting your neutral steer, like you said, being consistent with that final corner you mentioned. How can I not miss the apex? You use that time to test, right? Feel free to take risks, try new things. But when you go to the race, then it's about doing the same thing, right? You don't want to be changing things during the race. You've got to be confident in your line and your pace. And whatever you get in that race weekend, you get, whether it's P8, P5, P3, or P1, right? Any final things, Jacob, before we move on to the next driver?
Can we only quickly look at the end of the first race? I accidentally let the driver through. I want to know what I can do to prevent it. If someone is stopping me, or
if you want, and it's very, very interesting that you mentioned you thought lap car was coming through.
Almost the very last lap.
Awesome.
Yes.
I let the driver behind through because I thought he was lapping me. In reality, he wasn't, so I accidentally gave up the position. Is it this driver?
Yes. Put it a bit.
It's that guy, right?
Maybe the video. Yeah. It's on the straight. I let him.
Yeah, you can just see over here. You're pulling over.
I think he bumped me a bit, and I know that the fast guys are like they are really aggressive and overtaking the traffic. So I assumed that is one of them.
Of course. The only thing I can say for this is awareness. So what you need to do is understand who you're battling with. Now it becomes difficult. Let's say you do pit stops and then the order becomes shuffled. You're not sure, who's racing with you and who's lapping you. But generally, from the start of the race, and let's say over here you were leading, but this driver's behind you. If you glance over your shoulder, just have an idea. Okay, this guy have this color helmet or this color gloves, and then okay, I'm fighting him. Of course, the leaders, then you got to remember how their equipment looks. You can use cues, subtle cues, like you said. If they bump you hard from behind, that's what the leaders normally do.
I know that the fastest guys, like they have fluids, helmets, gloves, everything. So
the visual cues are much better than the cues on feeling, because anybody can bump you hard from behind. As you notice over here, it was actually a competitor. So all I'd say is awareness.
Because it was the end of the race, I just assumed that they were already.
Yeah. What I would have done over here as well is, rather than pull over and lift off the gas, I'd look right after he bumped and look, okay, is he wearing the full suit and all, or is he actually the guy I was battling? And then decide if you want to let him through, yeah? You see, things like this, you learn through experience. That's the thing about racing. So again, there's no shame in that, right? You learned in this race, and now next time you know how to handle that kind of situation. Always the first time, it might feel a bit disheartening. I gave up a position, but I shouldn't have. But you got to think of it. As I always say, in that moment, did you think that was the right thing to do? Did you think that the right thing to do was let the guy through? Yes. So it happens. Now, with the beauty of footage and analysis, we can look back and say, okay, actually that was a competitor. So next time, I'm going to improve on that. Don't worry too much, Jacob. I hope to hear your feedback, and if you get any races during your holidays, be sure to share some footage of that as well.
Yeah.
We're going to have to move on to the next driver, I'm afraid, Jacob, because we're running out of time. Is Nathaniel still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
It's great that you are still around, Nathaniel. Thank you so much for waiting as we come towards the end of this hour. And we're rounding it off with some Daytona Sandown Park. Now, if I'm not mistaken, these are the adult karts you're driving in.
Oh yes, so I did the assessment. So yeah, I can drive so these now.
Okay, talk me through that. So there's a minimum age, obviously, before you can go into adult karts.
Yeah, for Sodies,
how was the assessment?
So for Sodies it's 14, but when you're 12 you can do an assessment. It's basically like Daytona is this thing where it's like one-to-one tuition. It's basically that, but
Nice.
they also assess for next to that. So, and
yeah.
It's not anything serious. It's just you're basically gonna pass if you don't, spin off the track every lap.
Yeah, definitely. No, you've got a lot of experience now. You're a capable driver. You've done a lot of their competitions as well. So how did you feel driving the adult karts? First time, right?
Yeah, I mean, it felt so much easier on the steering, but it felt more forgiving as well than junior.
Okay, in what way?
Like, you could just make a small mistake, and then junior, you'd bog down a lot, and this, I wouldn't be feeling that much.
And the junior, the biz karts, right?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about that, but yeah.
Yeah. I remember reviewing your footage that you did in Milton Keynes. It was in the rain or damp track. Those were biz karts. Basically, those are heavy and, as you said, unforgiving, because at the moment you lose the revs, it takes a lot of time to build them up. Here you're dealing with, I believe these are the 390 SR5s. Is that correct? Did they tell you the model?
No, they haven't told me. It's just Sodi. That's all I really know. Yeah, I know models.
I'm pretty sure these are the SR5s 390 cc's, and you get a lot of speed compared to the biz that you've driven in the juniors. The other thing is, this track is designed for maximizing your speeds, and you probably got fed up because it's just hairpin after hairpin. I mean, how was Sandown?
I mean, I like Milton Keynes a bit better because it's like longer and the long straight, but Sandown, it's okay, but I don't know.
It's unique in its own way. When I went there the first time, I did both. I did the Sodies like you're doing, and I did the D-Max. It's more fun in the D-Max because you need a lot more skill for these corners. In the Sodies, though, once you can get the line, which is quite straightforward, then it's just about doing that consistently. And as I said, it's hairpin after hairpin after hairpin. Some will be long hairpin corners, some will be double hairpin corners like this. And essentially, there's a couple of ways to go around it. Main thing is on a dry track like this, trying to use majority of the track, trying to use the curbs on the insides of the corners to your advantage as well. What was your best timing from this session?
Yeah, I can't remember offhand, but I can check from the emails. If you give me a second, maybe in like a few minutes, I can try to pull it up.
No stress.
It was mostly about the race because I had the same car for practice and the race. But in the race, it was like a grid start, so you could like see the difference in the car. And I thought my car was like really bad on exits, but maybe it's just my driving. Because I've only been here twice. This is my first time for Saudi, like ever. So. Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
So, what's your mentality when you go to a new track? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to learn all the corners at once? Are you just trying to, stage your practices? Okay, I'm going to go easy, then build up. How do you approach it?
I'm not quite sure. I just kind of follow like a fast driver mainly and just see what they do and try and copy them and then create my own lines maybe to try and improve that as well. Just link the corners to other tracks as well.
It's always interesting to understand how different drivers learn different tracks. The way I like to do it is have a fixed amount of, or have a timeline of what sessions I'm doing in terms of practice, whether it's 3 10-minute sessions or 2 15-minute sessions, whatever it is. And then in those practice sessions, I'll be staging my progress. So at the beginning, I'm trying to acclimatize myself to the track. So I'm not going to go out full speed on the first couple of laps, spin out, lose confidence. I'll try and build up, feel out the track width, feel out how the curbs are. Some of them worth riding, some of them worth avoiding. Where are the braking points? Can I brake early? Can I brake late? And it's really a learning process like that. To speeden up the learning process, of course, it helps if you're just following a faster driver on track. Maybe it could be one of your friends and they're showing you the lines. That really, really helps. But ultimately, within that first session, you would have realized you know what? There's some corners that I'm really enjoying. I think I'm doing well at. But there's some few corners which I'm still trying to improve on. What were those corners that you're still trying to improve on?
It was the corner just before the straight. I think you just passed it.
Okay.
And
so
yeah,
let's. Oops. Yeah. Let's go through it. This is basically the start of the lap.
So yeah, yeah.
Good through the first sector. Fine through the first sector.
Yeah, I felt okay through there, but it's just this corner that's coming out there. I'm not sure if I should take it.
The hairpin over here.
Yeah, because it's straight into another corner.
Yeah. It's the left, straight into the right, and then you've obviously got the short straight. Now this is always a tricky corner because it's a double hairpin sequence. I'm trying to bring it up on maps over here for you just to give you the overhead shot. It's always important to see the overhead shot because you get better context of how the track actually flows, what the distance is between the two corners. And you'll see over here that two corners we're talking about are the left-hand hairpin into the right. So this is a typical double hairpin corner. The idea with a double hairpin corner like this is that the first part, we're carrying lots of speed, right? So we're on the accelerator all the way from the end of that turn, straight, which means we have to do braking, right, for this corner.
Yeah, I think.
Tap of the brake, especially for rotation. Were you braking or lifting for this turn, the first hairpin?
I didn't really want to lift. I mostly wanted to brake, not to slide out. Yeah, because I wasn't
braking is advice. I'll tell you that much for this corner. As we said, try and get your braking done hard, short period, get some rotation. Early, mid, or late apex, what would you do for this corner?
Middle to late now looking at it, I think maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because we want to set up for the next corner that's coming up. The idea is we're only going to brake for this first corner. That's going to set us up after braking, then the apex we take. Let's take the second corner, hopefully flat out. If you can't do flat out, then just a brief lift. And then we basically hug the right-hand side of this track and exit. So sacrifice some time on entry, get your braking done. Make sure you're aiming for that mid to late apex, as you said. So you don't want to turn in too late. Excuse me, you don't want to turn in too early. You do want to turn in relatively late. And once you can get the latter part of this hairpin, then we can draw a straight line to our next entry point. So taking a late apex, why don't we reduce the meters? Why don't we go diagonally across the track, almost in the middle to tight, and then hug this right-hand side of the track. It's going to make more sense when I show you the video. The reason is, from this point to this point, realistically, how much speed are we building up? Not that much, right? So we are going to be able to take this corner ideally flat out, if not with a lift, if you find that you're sliding too much.
Yeah, I take it flat out.
It's pretty much flat. Sometimes I'm just trying to bring up the lap over here. Let's just share my screen. Sometimes if you go too fast on entry of the first hairpin, which is over here, and then you end up too tight, you might end up applying a bit of brakes. I thought this was a really, really good effort that you did here. One more time. Let's just put it in slow motion. Obviously, no traffic on this lap. Nice and wide entry. Coming over the surface change. Hitting your brakes. Getting your turn-in done. Watch your steering wheel. Got a bit of rotation there. Some karts, especially in these SODs, have a tendency to have less grip on the front tires, or they're just an understeery setup. Also, you're a lightweight driver, right? You're a junior driver driving an adult car. So in terms of utilizing your body weight, I'd try and shift your weight towards the front as much as possible, bring the seat forward, and get more grip on those front tires. Otherwise, you'll find that you have to fight the kart and turn in excessively sometimes. What you could try is also experimenting on this curb. Try and take some of the curb if you wish. But then as you're doing similarly over here, heading back out to the right-hand side of the track. Slight lift perhaps on entry if you find maybe there's too much entry speed. Otherwise, keep your foot pinned to the floor. And then keeping it tight all the way as we try to make a smooth arc on this corner, right? So what I would advise...
That wasn't that good. It was like one of my first laps. Maybe in the race it's better, but...
Definitely. This is just practice and you're learning. I'm just trying to give you a visual understanding as well. You're on the right path. What I would say to you is how can we consistently hit this kind of line where we're getting our braking done for this corner, mid to late apex for the first hairpin. And just one note over here. If you're in a slower kart with low speed, you can afford to go tight for the right that's coming up because you've got less speed. If it's a faster kart, have a slightly wider entry. And that's what will help you get a smoother run through this corner. When's your next race at Sandown? Are you going to be going back?
No, I only went to Sandown because I was late for Acton. I just went to a race. It was like a 10-minute practice straight into a 20-minute race.
Yeah, excellent. Well, it's always worth doing these practice sessions or races at Daytona. It just gets you experience. So I'd recommend you to go back and see if you can better your lap time, right? Any final things before we round off for today's session?
It was just on the race, on the second link, there was... I didn't know if it was my driving or if it was the kart, but like when I was dive bombing and just in general, my exit was like really bad compared to second place. So it was just.
Which specific time stamp did you say?
Sorry?
Which specific time stamp?
Oh, it was kind of just like every lap I just felt like my exit. So compared to this guy in front with the yellow helmet.
Yeah. That's a good observation. Let's just watch a couple of corners over here. So basically, you're battling this guy, and you feel on the exit of the corner, he's pulling away.
Yeah, like on this hairpin here, going straight, I just felt like his exit. Even though I got like,
you got a good line.
Yeah, he's
pulling away. Unfortunately, you're going to experience this a lot in adult karts. Is kart performance, right? I know they try to maintain them and keep them the same, but karts will have different characteristics and different strengths and weaknesses. So you'll find that some karts have good handling and you're going to be catching people in the corners, but other karts have better straight line speed. So what happens is even if you catch them in the corners and all, they just have better top end and they're able to pull away from you. And it becomes very, very fine details, even things like the condition of your brake pads, right? I had that in the Daytona D-Max Endurance, where we had worn brake pads compared to drivers who are fresh brake pads. Our braking was all over the place. There wasn't much consistency. Imagine if the brake pads are worn away, it's going to be very difficult to slow the kart down, compared to fresh brake pads where you're hitting your marks every single lap. So that's the lottery you play in rental karts, right? Sometimes you'll have a kart with good top speed, but bad handling, too much undersea in the corners. On the other hand, you might have a really good kart with handling, but just bad top speed, right? So you've got to try to work out different driving styles and lines based on the kart. I would say it should take you 3 laps to figure out, am I driving a good kart, an average kart, or a bad kart? And immediately start applying different techniques. So what I like doing a slow kart, if it's got bad top end, I don't use all of the track, right? There's no point using all of the track, every inch of the track, wasting lots of meters in a slow kart, which is not got top end. So take a slightly narrower line. You might not even have to brake for a lot of corners. You just have to lift for some corners. On the other hand, if I've got the best kart on the grid, I'm driving every lap like a qualifying lap. So I'm very mindful of my lines. I'm very mindful that I'm going to get good exit speed, good straight line speed. And when the need to defend is there, I know I can take a slightly compromised line, whether it's defending a tighter line. But on the exit of the corner, I've got that straight line speed in my kart to back me. So all these things, I'd say, come through experience. And what you're experiencing with this guy, the back and forth, also comes down to racecraft, right? It's about picking your moments. So sometimes you'll feel that you're fast. Can you then make the overtake stick? Are you brave enough to go for the move? And sometimes to make that move, you got to do something extraordinary. So you might have to brake a lot later. You might have to dive bomb him. He might be expecting you to pass in certain corners. Can you catch him by surprise? The problem is, the longer you stay behind the driver, the more comfortable they become. So those first few laps, putting them under pressure, and they're most vulnerable, I'd say, on those first few laps when you're behind. Once it becomes 10 laps, 15 laps, they memorize your style, right? And they're able to basically put their defensive plan to work. So just by doing more and more of these races, especially in these adult karts, because they do handle differently, they got different speed to junior karts, you're going to have to build that experience back up. So the best way to do that is these public sessions or public races, as they do. Practice straight into quali and then a race. I'd encourage you to do as many of these as possible and build up your racecraft.
Yes. Thank you. I just had a really quick question.
Go for it before we round off.
Yeah, on this video, 17 minutes and 40 seconds, around there, the back marker, I overtook him like a few laps before, but then a back marker held me up, and then he re-overtook me. I don't know what I could have done. I tried going around the outside. It was invisible. I don't know if I should have stuck behind him.
This driver?
Yeah, it was just right here. And then, I'm not sure I could have done it.
So you're saying he's basically getting in your way, and then you've now lost the race lead.
Yeah, I was second place right now in third.
Oh, sorry, you've lost second place, and then basically open the door for Kart 24 to come through. Yeah, basically what happens over here is you're coming up against inexperienced drivers, right? So number one, they don't have awareness. So he's just doing his own thing. He's enjoying his time. He might be going karting for the first time as well. So he's in his own world. You got to imagine that. What happens over here? He's not intentionally blocking you or anything. He probably sees you now. As he peeks over, he's like, whoa, there's a kart that's coming to me. So he probably panics. And he's just trying to either get out the way or do his own thing. What happens is you got to anticipate what he's going to do. First step is leave lots of distance, right? Drivers who are doing karting for the first time, they're going to do unpredictable things. Make sure you have enough distance to react. Maybe he's not going to brake for a corner. Maybe he's going to take like a completely obscure line. He's going to go all the way around the outside. You don't know what he's going to do. Keep space to react. I see you've kept space over here to react. But what happens is now you're in a compromised position. Try to take your normal line. You gain all the way through entry of the corner. On exit, you're now forced to the opposite side of the track, the outside, the dirty part of the track. There's less grip. So what happens over here? Driver on the inside, lap car is still defending, and the gap opens up for second place to come through. All I'd say over here really is, again, try to pick your overtaking spots. Sometimes you got to position your kart in the right spots to make an overtake stick, and sometimes it just won't go to plan, right? So for here, maybe you tried to go around the outside, it didn't work. You learn from that. That doesn't work, so you got to try something else next time.
Thank
We're
you.
gonna have to. Sorry.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for that.
No worries at all. I think that was a really solid analysis of racecraft and some good points that we mentioned. I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have run out of time for today's session. We've got a question from M1KRO. Do you have any tips for transitioning from rental karts to road taxis? Now, that is a great question. Firstly, I would advise you to watch the latest KTips video, rental karting versus owner karting, because as much as the driving style of things are going to be different, much different, there's the whole environment aspect, right? What kind of championship are you joining? Is it one-off? Is it the full season? Are you joining a kart team? You're basically going into the professional world of karting there. In terms of the driving style and all, the main differences will be physicality. So get ready to be in more pain on your neck, on your arms, and yeah, you'll really get a good workout out of road tax karting. Just doing more and more laps will obviously gain more seat time, will develop your confidence. Problem is track time can be expensive. Tires, you're going to burn through those, and it's not exactly cheap to get new set of tires every single practice session. So be smart with that. I would advise in your practice sessions, drive till the tires are dead. It's always good to learn how to drive on worn tires. And then when you have the benefit of fresh rubber for races, you'll be able to maximize that. You'll be more confident. You'll have more pace. And ultimately, have a good support network around you, whether that's friends who are at the track, whether that's obviously a kart team that you join, or even, your parent who might be going through this journey with you, whether they're being your mechanic or support. We look forward to continuing this discussion next week on the KTips Academy. I'm afraid, Brandon, we're going to have to save your footage and discussion as well for next week. Thank you all for joining today's session. KTips Academy is free to join. Kayash on Instagram saying, I wanted to get footage of my driving. GoPro chest mount is too low. So what do you think I can do? Thank you for the live. That's a great question. I've had that same issue where the chest mount is almost useless, right? It's just recording your footwork. So that's not ideal. What I would say, try and get a chin mount, right? Those are temporary ones. You can go on Amazon if you type in helmet chin mount that you can basically attach to your helmet, or ideally get a curved GoPro helmet mount. So that's a sticker, stick onto the top of it, put your GoPro on, and you get that amazing overhead shot, which gives you a vast view. I would recommend curved GoPro helmet mount for you, and hopefully you can get your footage. You can join the academy, and you can come on track help so we can review it. Until next week, guys, at 6 p.m. GMT. We'll see you all then. Take care, everyone. Good night.